Alright, so now we are going to go up against Kerpa and Zen. I hope I'm saying Zen's name right. Or is it Szenszej? Szenszej? Something like that. But we're going to go ahead and get into this one, as I believe both these players are Premier, as well as Szenszej will be rocking the Civilized up north, and Kerpa will be rocking the Longcoats down in the south. Now, both these players are going to be very interested to see how they go up against each other, as their compositions are looking kind of similar, but kind of not, as Szenszej is going to be rocking the Squirrel Lizard Mole, with only having one tier 2 with the Falcon, and 2 tier 3s in the Boar and the Owl. Meanwhile, Kerpa is going to be having the standard Squizzard, as well with the Cam Falcon, Boar, and Mine. So Kerpa going for a little bit more of a standard deck you usually see in these type of games in this current patch, while Szenszej is going pretty somewhat off meta. We've never really seen a Boar Owl before, so it'll be interesting how this plays out. And of course, in the beginning of this, we're seeing that Kerpa wanted to be a little bit of a gremlin, does take out a pig. Kind of surprised that he didn't go ahead and get his squirrels to get involved into the battle, but it is what it is. So we see that Kerpa is looking to possibly load up here. Try to see what his opponent is. Both opponents trying to see what they're up to. And it looks like Szenszej is going to continue. Oh, nope. As I was going to say, that he just put in his new pig and is now going to set up his second tier warren. So Szenszej is going to be a little bit behind in the economy value for a little bit, but it's nothing too shabby. But, you know, it is what it is. Now, of course, with Szenszej, it's kind of surprising that he's not going to go for this mixed tier, considering the amount of tier 1 that he has in the early goings, while Kerpa is really focusing on trying to get this Squizzard deck going in the early runnings, as we do hit 2 minutes left in this game. So Szenszej's really going to be using Mass Squirrel in the beginning of this fight, which I can understand why, but with the fact that with Kerpa possibly using lizards, and he's using lizards so far, I believe he only using lizards so far, but now he does see that Squizzard is going to come into play. It'll be interesting to see if he wants to match that, but it looks like he might. It's looking like he was trying to be a little bit cheesy, but it's looking like he's trying to just fake out Kerpa here, as Kerpa was going to get ready to use send out his lizards on him. But yeah, right now, both sides really trying to focus on the Squizzards, as we do see a lot of lizards coming out, and of course adding in with a bunch of squirrels as well. But Kerpa is going to go ahead and go into his next base, and also add in tier 2 to the mix. So right now, looking at both of these guys, they are pretty even on the economy. Kerpa might be a little bit ahead on the army. He's actually he's actually on the army quite a bit. I need to stop pressing escape. You know, I don't know why every time when I see that, every time I see this, I just kind of want to immediately press escape when that's not how you do it. It's pressing the Z button again. You know, it is what it is. But in this case, Szenszej's going to just take some time to just chill out for a little bit. We do see that Kerpa did sell off the Falcons, it looks like. And Szenszej opted to go ahead and Boar up for this fight to kind of do a massive counter against the Boar. But, of course, the battle is starting to commence, as now the moles are going to come in to possibly give Szenszej the advantage here. Because with the moles coming in out pretty quickly, they do see that the mines are coming in, daring him to try and go after. But Szenszej does go home. Not sure if he's going to call back his boys, but looks like he's just only going back just to get a farm up, just in case this doesn't work out. And now it's looking like that he is aiming to possibly do some real damage as Kerpa tried to bring his lizards to try and be a gremlin, but instead Sin just does burrow home. It's kind of a little bit awkward considering the fact that for Kerpa, he doesn't see that the army is like right there in front of him. He does now, but of course we do see Szenszej pulling back a little bit, but Kerpa knows that he's on the doorstep as he goes for the full 16. Meanwhile, Szenszej is not fully farmed up either, so this could be an opportunity. But the boar is out, and now the boar is going to go and get into some damage, as a lot of food's going to be lost with those moles being destroyed. Those mole mills being destroyed. So the mole warrens are now gone. Szenszej's trying to see if he can flank this, but the mine's going to stop him from doing so. So he's just going to go ahead and give his units a bath real quick and just try to hold off for a little bit. He's probably going to go home. No, he's going to actually try and charge in with the lizards, trying to get them to poke these mines out the way. But meanwhile, Kerpa is going to go ahead and do some damage himself as he goes ahead and takes out a couple of warrens. He may be taking out this mill here if the lizards... going for the lizards themselves is not really what you want to do here for this matchup, as now he's going for the mass mix. But now this could be a base race situation, as now it's looking like that Kerpa is going to take game 1 with them trying to trade blows, it looks like. So there goes the first one for the moles. The moles are going to get deleted here very, very quickly, and that's going to be the game, as Kerpa does get the first victory against Szenszej. So it really kind of goes to show that boar coming in last minute trying to go up against all that tier 1 was not the best way to deal with it. Obviously, the focus of trying to get as much tier 1 as possible did not necessarily work out, especially with the fact that he was very hesitant on trying to push in before that boar came out. I don't even know if he actually seen the boar. He probably has seen the boar warren and wanted to go ahead and dive in, but the fact that the mines were there made him very hesitant to go for that. But unfortunately for Szenszej, he's not going to be able to get game 1 because of it. So Kerpa will take the first one. So now on to game 2. So Szenszej decided to switch it up when it comes to the army he wants to push out, as he goes ahead and go for the KSR over on the south, while Kerpa is still rocking the blue in the north. Now, with the compositions, we do see a little bit of a change up for Szenszej, as this time we're going to go with a squad combination compared with 3 tier 3s in the Falcon, Skunk, and Cam, with a tad bit of Fox in it, so that's going to be a very, very pokey meta from Szenszej, while Kerpa is still keeping it the same with the Squizzard, Falcon, Cam, Boar, Mine game. So that seems to be the standard for Kerpa. That's his favorite deck, his preferred deck to use in these situations. But now we're going to see Kerpa trying to go and be a little bit more abusive again, as he does put in a couple of squirrels. A pig will go down, unfortunately. And now he does have a couple of squirrels, but it was too little too late at this point. So Szenszej's going to have to try and replenish as much as he can. Meanwhile, Kerpa just, vibing. Go ahead and put in a squirrel war in this time. Not looking to probably end this second game pretty early, but Szenszej was possibly trying to look for some vengeance here, but the squirrels may or may not come in time. No, it doesn't look like it, so it looks like that they will be able to take at least one of the warrens out, but he does have a squirrel open, but with the fact that he did lose a that Lizard Warren is going to go down. So he will end up losing a Warren. But with the amount of squirrels that Szenszej has at the moment, he is only going to get just that, as Kerpa is finally able to push Szenszej out. And with that, he could have the opportunity to counter if he would like to wish, as he will replenish his 6 squirrels, but it's looking like that's not going to be the case, as Szenszej does decide to put in a 3rd Warren, so by the time they get here, the squirrels will already be out for Szenszej, so that's not going to be looking to be the case, as now it's just them trying to match up the economy. So going over to what the early game is looking like, it's clear that Szenszej had the better army for a little bit, but the income is looking to be very good for Kerpa, as Kerpa has been doing a very good job trying to do a little bit of abuse, making Szenszej having to kind of work for his 8 farms up there, as now that Kerpa does have the superior army count, with the 4th Squirrel Warren being used at this juncture, and is now going to go ahead and get the 2nd mill up. Now, getting into, well, of course, as I say this as well, that can easily be countered very quickly with Szenszej bringing out the skunks. But as we go ahead and get into the overall map situation here, there are a lot of mills to play from, but more so on Szenszej's side than Kerpa's side. So this looks like a very base trading map, but then again, not really, because obviously Szenszej can easily use this as a kind of a pocket a little bit, because there really is no real way for Kerpa to really get around that. If you look at the map, there's not much to really go through from this terrain. But so that's an easy pocket for Szenszej. This can easily be attainable, while this one could be attainable too, but that's going to be like deep in the long game. Meanwhile, for Kerpa, he has these 2, as we do see him putting out the cams this time, and he only really has one other one that he can easily access to, and the rest are going to be fighting. So Szenszej definitely has the advantage when it comes to the mill count, when it comes to the nearby mills. And Szenszej is going to go really hard on the tier 2 now, with 1 Warren for each in Cam, Skunk, and Falcon. Meanwhile, Kerpa going to go a little heavy on the Falcons this time around, and the Cams, because he just put those 2 down. And yeah, he's going to be very big on going to tier 2. He may be looking to start selling off a couple of tier 1 Warrens in a little bit. Of course, as the 5-minute mark is passed, we do see a little bit of gremlin, it looks like, as Szenszej does lay out a cam trap right here in this little area. I don't know where the other cam went. I think he might have, yeah, he just spawned right here. So with that in mind, Kerpa and Szenszej are both really just slowly building things up right now. Szenszej's now starting to build in a few toads. Szenszej does take the economy lead just a little bit, as he does have 3 compared to the Kerpa's 2 on their 2nd mill. And right now, I will say that when it comes to the overall army, you probably would say that Kerpa could be in the lead in this case, because of the fact that the amount of tier 2 is basically insane. As you can see from the army value, it's very, very high compared to Szenszej's at this point. Meanwhile, Szenszej is being a little, is being a little bit greedy here for the amount of farms that he has, because he is farming up quite a lot, but with the amount of focus on farm, he's fallen way behind when it comes to the army economy. Kerpa just has a superior army at this point with the amount of tier 2 that he has, and a decent amount of tier 1. While Mass Squirrel can definitely do some damage, I don't think 21 squirrels with a little bit of toad is going to do much with a Mass Falcon and a majority cam type of scenario here. Now, I do think the toads could be a good counter against the cams themselves, but just having 3 is not going to cut it. It's going to take quite a few toads to take out a majority of the cams for that tank, because the cams are clearly there for taking purposes. And it's actually kind of funny because the cams are kind of just chilling on both sides. You got 4 cams over at one corner, then we have the other set of cams over just a little bit ahead. So if they both start clicking, I would imagine that a fight would go on, but obviously neither player really realized how close their cams are. That's kind of funny. So we do see that both tier 3s are now just hit. Now just got started building for each side. And Kerpa did pick up a campfire, so just in case for a starvation game, because he does realize that the amount of... Oh, well, they do realize that the cams were there now, so the cams have been destroyed by Kerpa. But, yeah, as I was saying, with the fact that when it comes to mills, Szenszej does have the clear advantage here, so him going for that campfire over here in this corner makes a lot of sense. There's also another one he can go there for, again. It is more forward, but it's also a little bit out the way. So I would say that that's a pretty safe one to get. Now, both wards are done at the same time. So right now, they both are just awaiting for an opportunity to buy. They both did just get in. They sold a couple of things, so now both tier 3s are going to be on the way, and it looks like Kerpa's boar is going to come out first. But they both kind of are around the same time, so by the time the boar comes out, the fox is going to come out right after. Now, this is kind of where the style kind of comes into play, because with a boar, you're kind of just saying, hey, we're going all in right now to take everybody out. But for the fox, you're kind of more of a poking type of scenario. And it doesn't look like we're going to get a battle here, but the squirrels are going to get tacked on a little bit when it comes to the mine. So Szenszej decides to just say, never mind, and go on home. And Kerpa's going to go ahead and reload on the mines once again. And now it is looking like that he is ready to go ahead and get things going, as the fox is out, the boar is out. I think we're ready to go ahead and see a major fight going. We do see that the cams are gonna go ahead and get the tanks going, and now we're seeing things getting mowed down, the fox getting value, and it's looking like that this might be Szenszej's game, as the boar is almost out, and it looks like the fox is gonna take care of it, as the fox gets the snipe. And it's looking like it's going to be Szenszej's game to win. It just really depends on what Kerpa's going to do here. He does have another boar on the way. He is going to try and rebuild, but you know, Szenszej is going to go ahead and just try and take care of everything first and foremost before any of that happens. So I'd say that this is going to be a game for Szenszej. It just seems like that. Of course, as I'm saying this, we do see Kerpa still trying to give it as much fight as he can, but losing a lot of warrens for this fight, as Szenszej is just really just taking all the battles with the tier 3 just coming into play. So great microwing there from Szenszej, as he does take game number 2. So no sweeps for this matchup whatsoever. So let's go ahead and hop into game 3, shall we? Things are now tied up between these two players, as Szenszej does stick with the KSR in the west side, while Kerpa rocking the long coats on the east side. Now, both sides have changed up their compositions. For Szenszej's deck, we are going to have the Squall with a tad bit of Pigeon, with the Cam Falcon and Badger, while Kerpa going for Squizzard and the combination of Ferret Falcon with the Owl and MG. Now, Kerpa is looking to probably be a little bit more aggressive this time, as he does go for a 5 base Warren, probably trying to prevent any shenanigans from happening. So Szenszej will be doing the same thing, but he does queue in a couple of more extra farms, so pacing will be something. He does decide to resell and rebuy just to go ahead and match up with the economy. So both guys really are kind of keeping the same pace together. So with that in mind, excuse me. So with that in mind, going ahead and getting into the bases, there's not a lot of bases to go around. This is honestly probably the most even map that we've seen in a while. Both sides have the kind of somewhat taking one of the two closer mills of the battlefield this way, as well as like two on the side that they can easily both grab. And the fourth one is a bit of a stretch to grab, but Kerpa has the better availability to that because of this hill here, while Szenszej has a whole lot of water he has to go through just to get to this mill. So I don't imagine him trying to go for that mill if it does get to that point. So if it does go into a starvation game, Kerpa would probably have the edge because of the easier pathway to this final mill comparatively. But at the same time, well, actually, no, never mind. Well, no, the Falcons can probably do some cliff abuse on this particular mill, but, you know, it is what it is. So now both guys are going to go ahead and get into a second mill, but what's interesting is that the Badger is already coming out for Szenszej, looking to probably end this very quickly. Meanwhile, Kerpa is going to be rocking with two tier 2s comparatively. So already a very interesting situation for the game to go, as Szenszej's going to go pretty much all in, as he is going to await for his tier 3 to be paid for, and he does, with Szenszej selling both of the tier 1 and then rebuying them just so he can be able to pay for the Badger. So it's gonna be interesting how this plays out, as Kerpa is trying to counter that Badger with a lot of Falcons upcoming, as well as having the Lizards. Now, I'm not too keen on the Lizard choice here, mainly because of the fact that, like, they are more melee units, and while they are fast, they can be essentially just some easy revs for this Badger that's coming out. And it's going to be very difficult to really kind of beat Szenszej here with just Lizards alone in this one. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes. But we do see, when it comes to the farm, Szenszej only has one available, while Kerpa is kind of in the lead with two, as the first one does pop out and the second one will be coming in pretty soon. But Szenszej's going to be a little bit greedy here with the amount of farms coming out, because he kind of has been able to do this, but now the Falcon count is starting to get a little dangerous here, as the Falcon count is going up to 8, and that could possibly be enough to counter this Badger attack. But of course, it just really depends on whether or not Szenszej does decide to, like, go big and put in another pigeon or two. But instead, he's going to opt for going for more DPS with the Falcons. And now he's going to go into his third mill, while Kerpa is still trying to rock the 16 farm game, as only 5 of the 8 have been farmed up so far for Kerpa. Now Kerpa is going to go ahead and try and be a little bit of a gremlin here, looking to possibly attack. Oh, this fourth one that Szenszej decided to go after, so he denied him that mill very, very quickly. But he just felt like that was enough to go ahead and get this thing going. Szenszej here is now starting to build up his Falcon count, also with a dab bit of cam as well. And I think that's going to be a great counter for the amount of Falcons that Kerpa has decided to add for himself, is to just add a large variety of tier 2 as well. Now, of course, with that in mind, it's gonna be interesting trying to see there, but he does sell one of the warrants. Is he going for... Ooh, he's going for a second badger. See, now things are going to get a little interesting. With the fact that the falcons are now coming out, Kerpa doesn't look like he's going to use the owl at all in this matchup. He does bring out his third one, but it may be a little too late, it seems, as he once again sees that Szenszej is still trying to be a gremlin, trying to take that 4th mill. So he's just going to go ahead and send his lizards here to just take it out real quick. But I don't think Kerpa might be ready for what's about to happen. The army value is evened out, but even with that... Oh, that's because he just put down 2 owls. So if Szenszej wants to go out, he might as well go out now, but he's looking to farm up once again instead, because I feel like he seems very confident with the fact that he's already going to have his 2 badgers out, while we do see 3 owls coming into play, and I'm not too sure if he has seen all 3 of them. No, he's only seen 1 so far, so he doesn't even know about the other 2 either. So, in Szenszej's mind, he probably feels pretty confident in not having to push. But I do think that even with the owl there, he may want to consider trying to just go in and charge before any of them come out. Because obviously, with an owl composition, you're going to have more than 1 owl. Like, everybody pretty much throws out more than just 1 owl in this case. So it's gonna be a big choice here to see what Szenszej's going to do to possibly get this game too. Now Szenszej's going to completely farm up this 3rd one, so he's still gonna be ahead in economy, I believe. Yeah, because he's very far ahead in economy, but the army value is also pretty big for Szenszej. I'm just a little bit worried because of the amount of owls that are coming out, because both owls are now out. So the big question right now is, who would I give the edge to? I still think Szenszej has the edge because of the fact that not only does he have 2 badgers and the variety of falcons as well, the Dabacam, he also has a superior tier 1 by a long shot, with 18 squirrels essentially going up against 9 lizards. Well, yes, the mice can possibly delete a lot of those. I don't think it's pretty much the best, but the commander goes down, and that is not a good thing, as this is going to look like a disaster here for Szenszej, as he has to try to retreat his boys, but a majority of his guys are already out. Oh, that is not what you want to see there. But right now, he is trying to use a majority of the badgers, trying to micro them as much as possible. But 1 badger goes down. The 2nd one may go down here. It's just a lot going for him, as the 2nd badger is going to be eliminated. And that is such a bad situation for Szenszej, as he does lose just a majority of his army in that case. That is not what you want to see there. Szenszej was trying to see what else Kerpa may have been cooking, but unfortunately he lost his commander there, which gave Kerpa the huge advantage of just surrounding their commanderless army since Szenszej went down. So now Kerpa has a huge advantage with that great timing, as Szenszej was trying to be a little too careless with that scouting attempt. So now we're seeing Kerpa just going ahead and owling up to try and wrap things up here for game 3, as Szenszej is desperately trying to find some kind of way to get around this, as now the 4th mill will be coming up for Kerpa. And meanwhile, Szenszej just scrambling for something, anything, to possibly help him out, as he does put down a 3rd badger to hopefully get him back in this, to get back in the swing of things. but it's going to be difficult for 3 badgers to go out against what's going to be 5 owls at this point. Especially with the large amount of mice that are coming this way. So right now, Kerpa is preparing for any possible attack that's coming out. He does see that his enemy in Szenszej is starting to gear up a little bit, but he's going to have to wait a little bit longer because of the fact that these two other badgers are on their way. The first one is going to have to wait a little bit because it is supply blocked, and as much as you would want to see him try and sell a warren or two, it might not be feasible because of the amount of food, the amount of army that could be lost here. And Kerpa is just going to go ahead and do a little bit of abuse here with his falcons, it looks like, as the falcon count is just really astronomical here. So he will be taking out a few of the tier 1 units to try and delay as much as he can. There is the third badger is coming on the way, but the 4th one is just now getting paid for. So we still have to wait quite a little bit for Szenszej to be able to do something, but all the owls for Kerpa are now out and about. Look at all these mice, man. It's absolutely insane how many there are. Meanwhile, the 4th badger is halfway there, and it's looking like that Szenszej is trying to do everything he can to bring out some pigeons and also farm up too, because now Kerpa does have the advantage in the starve game as he is now on his 4th mill, and it's just what a turn of events that can happen with your when a commander goes down right before an entire battle begins. That's not what you want to see here, and that could probably cost Szenszej this game, because I did think that he could possibly win that fight if it was a straight up, but not for this second major fight. It's going to be pretty big. Szenszej almost losing his commander again, but this time trying to be a little bit more careful with the amount of falcons that he has. Now the MGs are going to come out for Kerpa, and right now Kerpa is trying to get the mice to play some games that really is just going to be prison food for these badgers as they're starting to rev a little bit. Right now the battle will commence as the badgers still trying to poke and prod. They're all revved up here, so now majority of tier 1 is going to go down, and all the badges are now out. Basically, the entire army for Szenszej is now gone, and that should be game number 3 as Kerpa does take the lead 2-1. And you could probably understand the big deciding factor was Szenszej's commander, the quartermaster, was taken down because being a little bit too careless in that battle, and that really just kind of make things sink for Szenszej at that point. So Kerpa is going to take game 3 and is on match point. We'll see how game 4 is going to look as Kerpa is aiming to get another victory. So Szenszej switching things up again as Hopper going on from the east side, while Kerpa out west still rocking with the long cokes. Now Szenszej once again switching things up composition wise, as is Kerpa, though Kerpa a little bit less so, switching the MGs with the balloons, while Szenszej going for a mass change up with the Squall with a dab of Pigeon, as Falcon's going to be the only tier 2, while 2 tier 3s are going to be out there for Szenszej with the Boar and Badger combo. So with that in mind, looking at the map, It's interesting. So we kind of see like a little bit of a pathway for each of the mills. Now, Szenszej has a better line since like his starting mill is like the farthest out, while Kerpa has a little bit of a pocket one, so his is a little bit safer. While they're both kind of pockets, honestly, for the second mill because they're both pretty well secured from where they are. This one might be a little prone to cliff abuse, but not by much. But the third one for each of them are going to be like out of the way because this map is actually pretty dang big, in all honesty. So I do see a lot of pathways. Lizard could be pretty fun for this particular map, but obviously I don't think that either Kerpa is interested in bringing out the lizards quite yet. Meanwhile, Szenszej's going to go ahead and match up with Kerpa as he does get his second mill up, as well as getting a couple of more squirrel warrens out. Kerpa doing the same thing here as he does decide to add a couple of farms as well. Just trying to rely on trying to have the higher economy and slowing down his squirrel count just a little bit. Nothing too crazy. Szenszej, though, is now going to go ahead and start farming up as well with adding 3 farms compared to the 2 that Kerpa currently has that are just about ready to go. And right now, it is pretty much even Steven when it comes to the ideas of what both players are kind of wanting to do here. Now, kind of giving a good guess of like what kind of style both of these players want to play for their respective decks. I do believe that Kerpa is going the more passive route, while Szenszej is going the more aggressive route, because usually when you see a boar or really a badger as well, it's an interesting mix of tier 3s because like they're both aggressive, but they're aggressive in different ways. Boar on one hand is definitely one of those, is definitely the tier 3 unit that's just like, all right, let's just charge in. I don't care how much I'm going to lose. We're going to do as much damage as possible. Meanwhile, for the badger, the big thing is just kind of doing a little poking and prodding. So obviously the boar is going to do a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes to taking, while the badger is going to be possibly using for just poking and just trying to take out any strangling units that might have gotten away from the blast. Now, Kerpa already bringing out his first balloon, but that gets deleted almost immediately, as well as majority of the of Kerpa's tier 1 armies. So that's not really a great start for Kerpa, as the amount of squirrel and moles are just absolutely ridiculous, and he's not going to be ready to go ahead and get his secondary tier 1 units out in time for this fight, as Szenszej is just only kind of delaying the battle just a little bit, but doing so, Kerpa has the opportunity to bring out another balloon. So the balloon does go up, and now we're seeing a balloon quite close. Well, I was going to say very close to the army, but if Szenszej saw this, he probably would have gone and deleted it very fast. But now 2 balloons are going to be going up for Kerpa in this case. We do hear, I think that was, okay, no, it wasn't Szenszej. It was Kerpa with the 3rd mill. I thought that was a 3rd mill that was, yep, there it is. So it was Szenszej that did it. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. But Szenszej is going to go for the 3rd mill, but it's going to get canceled almost immediately as it finishes up, as Kerpa just denying any type of extra bases for Szenszej whatsoever. Really forcing Szenszej's hand, as Szenszej is going to bring out 2 tier 3s. The boar's already been paid for. Meanwhile, Kerpa is stacking up on the owls as his first one's going to be finished. It's not going to get paid for quite yet, up until right about now. and the other two are on their way. So already both teams are gonna go very massive here. So it's gonna be interesting to see how the Owl army is going to go against a Badger Boar type of army. Now, the payments are a little bit staggered between the two, so if Szenszej wanted to go ahead and charge in now and it doesn't work out, the Badger will already be there to possibly do, but I don't think that's what he wants to do. He wants to get a combination of two. But we do see some Gremlin play here as we get a little bit of cliff abuse. And it looks like Szenszej is going to do just that. He is going to go ahead and charge in with the boar. Is he doing it? No, it doesn't look like it. He's going to go ahead and fall back and just wait for the Badger, as the Badger is almost close to being done. He is going to get a third mill once again, getting a couple of farms in. He actually took this. Wow, this dude was sneaky as heck. I didn't realize that he took that that mill. So he's preparing for a well-adept base race if possible. We do see that all the owls are now out for Kerpa, but I don't know if it's going to be enough here, as the boar just doing what he can to clean a lot of the work. Meanwhile, the Rev is coming in strong for the Badger. But so far, Szenszej's kind of struggling to try and do some kind of damage, as the balloons are just being very pesky to protect a majority of Kerpa's army. Because I don't think any of the squirrels really were touched that much, and the lizards weren't really touched that much. So even though Szenszej is trying to do some deadly combos, we now see that Kerpa's gonna go ahead and go for a third base of his own. I'm not sure if he realizes the fact that now he's going for the fourth place. So everything's a little bit everywhere at this point. As right now, Kerpa is kind of a little bit in this corner right here, in a little bit right next to the enemy lines, as he does gotta go ahead and aim for that mill most likely, as there's only just lizards to protect it, and there's no way that they can do anything but just die. But it could be a nice distraction, as we may look like this could get into a base race situation, or both squads are thinking like, we can just base race this, as Szenszej does end up buying that mill. And the base race looks like it's going to commence, as both sides are not even bothering attacking each other and just again focusing on the bases. So the first one goes down for Kerpa, and now Kerpa is starving. And it is looking like that Szenszej could be taking this one, as Kerpa does not have a lot left, as he hasn't, I don't think he's ever seen this mill right here, or this one. So it's looking like the game will be going to Szenszej, as we will go into a game number 5. Very exciting time here, as Szenszej does take the cake with the base race situation. Really good game right there. So now we're on to game number 5. Let's get it. And so this game 5 thriller is now underway, as Szenszej is still rocking the red here on the west side, while Kerpa is rocking the blue on the east side. We do see another major shakeup for both of these, for both players, as Szenszej is rocking with 4 tier 1, a falcon and a boar, while Kerpa is going for a more standard type of deck, with the squirrel being the main tier 1, as the pigeon will be good for the healing, and we got a skunk falcon combination with the Badger, and the Mine. Now, this is going to be something that's actually a pretty healthy macro game, as we got plenty of mills for both players to play with. Of course, Kerpa has these 3, well, 4 of these was pretty much can be added to his name, while for Senjin, he does have these 3 to be able to play with. Now, I will say that this one probably right here will get fought for, but I don't think it'll be hard for Kerpa to take pretty easily. Though I will say it's a bit of a hassle to try to get through with these branches in the way and it being on the higher ground. So it could easily get sniped if Kerpa isn't too careful. And Szenszej could probably take it and do a lot of abuse in the early going. So right now, it is looking like that Senjin is just going to continue stacking up a lot of the squirrels that he has with the majority of his food. Meanwhile, for Kerpa, he's just going to go ahead and not worry about his squirrel count too much, and wants to go ahead and get into a second base, as he only has a max number of 9 when it comes to squirrels, while Senjin is just going to be rocking with the forewarned squirrels. He may go for another mill, I'm not too sure. But now Kerpa's going to go ahead and add in a tier 2 as also. So I will say, with the fact that the mass tier 1 could be a problem if the skunks are not going to be in there in time, but now Senjin is going to be very aggressive, it looks like, as we do see some mines coming out. I don't know whether or not Szenszej really cares too much and will just go charge in anyway, because the count is pretty big, but the first skunk has come out, so that could be enough to stop this attack, especially with the mines that could come in. But the mines were sold, it looks like, before the battle began. Not sure if that was a good idea. Probably would have been good to just go ahead and kept them around, even if they do take a little bit, because now the squirrel count is becoming a little bit too much. But I think the second skunk has come out, and Senjin is going to run. So really good value there for Senjin, as he does take out a mill and one of the starting pig on that second mill. So that's a really good value there for Senjin to possibly take game 5. So now the skunks are up forward to possibly do some pre-gas just in case Senjin tries something again as a forewarning. Meanwhile, Senjin, it does buy his second mill and now brought in the tier 3 once again pretty early in the game, as now the timer is going to be on Kerpa, as Kerpa deciding to also put down a tier 3. So both tier 3s coming out for both sides, and it's going to be a fun time for sure, as the macro game is going to be very interesting. So Kerpa also just trying to go ahead and get his pigeons a little early, just in case for an early attack. And Kerpa, excuse me, sorry about that. Kerpa is probably looking to try and get another tier 3. Well, no, he's just waiting for the badger to get paid off, and I'm sure the boar is paid off as well. Yep, so both tier 3s are going to be paid off, and it looks like they're going to come out at the same time. Kerpa's going to try and rely on the mimes a little bit, just to, you know, put a little bit of hesitancy for Senjin to come in for taking a bit of time. But now, it's looking like Kerpa could possibly try to see what else Senjin could possibly be cooking, as he does see the other 2 mills here that are available to Senjin. And now, with both tier 3s out, it's looking like Senjin is ready to go ahead and dive right in right now. Even though he doesn't have all of his units yet, he's still waiting on a couple of more falcons. Well, one more falcon now. While Kerpa is possibly trying to see if he can do some poking with the Badger. That's a little bit of a risky play. But he is going to go ahead and take out some of the economy here. As 3 of the pigs go down. So a fight will be commencing, it looks like. But Kerpa is going to plan on committing. He is going to go ahead and take out a good bit of the units. And he does decide to go home. So I would say that Szenszej definitely got the better of that. While yes, he did lost quite a few pigs before the official battle began, those pigs are about to go out anyways, so it's not like it was that much value on those pigs to begin with. But now Szenszej has an opportunity to go ahead and counter if he would like, as majority of the Falcons are not going to be there for Kerpa, but of course with the first mine going off, there's going to be a little bit of hesitancy. But he's going to go ahead and get rid of them. But he is going to lose a couple of those Falcons because of it. So again, we're seeing a little bit of tiptoeing between these two armies here. But Szenszej's going to say, you know what, Bumper, we're going to go home and just continue building on from there. Because he does have... he does decide to go for this base right here because it is the safest out of these two. While yes, this one's farther away, this one's kind of more secure. There isn't really too much to go for a... Well, actually, no, there is no way for any kind of cliff abuse whatsoever because this entire area is blocked off entirely. There's no need for it. Meanwhile, Szenszej is going to try and start building up a little bit of farms on both of the mills. It's having 3 right here to try to get ready to farm up. Meanwhile, for Kerpa is trying to get as defensive as possible before going into this attack because he is coming, and so the next battle will start as some of the pre-gas is going to come out for the skunks, trying to get rid of as much of the lizards as possible. They're just really, really fast. So the mill's going to go down here. And now Szenszej is going to have to try and desperately try to get some of his tiers in order as the Falcons are now starting to go out for Kerpa. And it's looking like that with the board down, the Badger still hasn't gotten out. And it's going to be Kerpa taking game 5 to wrap things up. GG's all around.